which kind of covers the New Haven area, that is Workforce Alliance. When we go into Fairfield County and into the Danbury area, that is the Workplace. And then you have the Northwestern Board in the Torrington Waterbury area. And then you have the Eastern Workforce Investment Board over on the east side of the state. And so each of these boards funds workforce development activities. It's separate from the state workforce board, but they are basically pass-through entities that get money for various programs that you may have heard of. So there's a couple of acronyms I'm going to throw out. One of them is WIOA, the Workforce Innovations Opportunities Act. That's a voluntary program where individuals between the ages of 18 to 24 for their youth programs, or individuals above 24 for adult programs, dislocated workers who may have lost their jobs and are getting benefits from the state are allowed to come in and get career advising services from a case manager, and they have access to various things like training accounts where they can have money for training and scholarship funds for certifications. They can have access to supportive services, so money to help with maybe buying clothes for an interview or getting some specific licensing paperwork taken care of. We also have a JAFIS program, which is the Jobs First Employment Services program. That's a program that supports people who are on cash assistance through the TANF program, which is the Temporary Assistance for Needy Families. That is a program where individuals are required to participate through the Department of Social Services. They receive case management from a career advisor in our office locally. And then they're also provided support with job searching, credential training. And the big thing with the JAFIS program is a subsidized employment internship, which is an opportunity to actually get a paid internship at a local office or local agency. And that could be anywhere from a maintenance position to a CNA position, depending upon the person's skill level and interest. And then the hope is that that turns into either a job or it gives them enough work experience to obtain employment. And then we also have a variety of other side projects, which are sort of special projects for us, anything from a non-custodial parent program, which are individuals who are struggling with their current employment and the ability to pay their child support, all the way through to reentry programs and specialized programs for specific cohorts of training. So for instance, you may have heard about the Career Connect program. So we help support the Career Connect program in the state. We help support the ACI, which is the Apprenticeship Connecticut Initiative, which provides training through local training providers that then hopefully leads to employment. And so I lead all of that because each of the regions has one of these boards that then contracts to an agency. So they don't do the services directly themselves. They contract to an agency like EDSI, and we've been doing it for about 40 years across the country in 9 different states. We have just about 900 employees. And our goal is to find these projects in the areas where people need help and to really try to provide some great support. So I figured I would start with the kind of the bigger picture and then maybe ask the question of what kind of workforce support are you looking for? Or what questions do you have about the workforce world and workforce development that we could maybe try to answer for you? Does anybody have anything in particular or any questions or ways that we could maybe provide additional feedback, support, or understanding?
So I'm sure we're not alone in just trying to find qualified talent that shows up for interviews when they've been scheduled. But yeah, we also run a fully funded CNA class that we're even having trouble getting people to participate, to come and get the education and the test paid for by us. And, I'm just wondering if there's a way that we can leverage your agencies even for kind of advertising those types of programs.
Yeah, so something to consider is that in the world of WIOA, like the Workforce Innovations Opportunities Act, we average about 700 participants in our adult program, about 400 participants, and we're in a slower period because usually the summer is when people kick off because school's ending for their children and things like that. So we have about 1,000 participants in the WIOA program, and we would love opportunities for employers to come and speak. So I know the boards would be happy with that as well, but something that happens in WIOA is you can become what's called an eligible training training provider with the state of Connecticut, which would allow you to get funding for the classes as well. And then people would be directly placed into those classes based upon when you have them available. So the first is a funding stream as an opportunity to actually get that paid for individuals, but it's also a recruiting tool where you could bring people in for the class and then pick the people that you want for your program. And we're actually working with Whitney Center to do a little bit of that with some of they're helping us with a PCA class for some of our participants to try to get an opportunity where we can get people in. And so there's, I think, a huge opportunity to do recruiting, especially when there's free programs. Yeah, because then there's no cost to the participant. There doesn't require any paperwork to get it done. So yes, I think we can definitely find people. We can talk about it. A lot of people get caught by either the trainer who happens to maybe work for an agency, or they're caught by the career services pretty quickly and kind of destined for a job before they even get into training. So the key is to kind of be at the forefront of that and kind of capture that person as maybe they're entering into the system. Yeah, and we are working. We had a conversation with Mag and Beth the other day, trying to see. We think that there's a synergy here where we can offer that support. So that's what we've been kind of taking a look at. Thank you. Yeah.
Excellent. So I can just reach out to you, Sean, after this.
Yeah,
session.
I'll put my information into the chat so that we can talk. Anyone who wants to talk, we can talk about next steps, and we can definitely help you with a solution.
Excellent. Thank you.
Sean, do you work with any of the local, well, I guess it's now under the Connecticut college system, like Tunxus,
Yeah,
Naugatuck?
absolutely. We're actually co-located at Assuntuck, Tunxus, and we have an office that supports Manchester. We have access to Manchester Community College. Capital Community College is doing a program with us. Absolutely, yeah.
Because I know Tunxus for a time, and I don't know if it's still true, had scholarships that they were, well, actually had grants where they were offering CNA training really at no charge.
Yes.
And I don't know if that is still going on, but if it is, I mean, is it something that any of us who are local to any of those groups could come in and talk to the students prior to them even finishing school?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that that's definitely an opportunity. And so we focus on partnerships with all of those entities. So in the WIOA system, or in the, what they call it, the one-stop system, that's the formal name from the government's perspective of what the American Job Centers are. And everybody has American Job Centers in their region. And so at the American Job Center, it's really federally, it's called the one-stop services. And so in the one-stop, there's mandated partners, people who must be at the table. Community college and training providers are at the table. The Senior Community Service Employment Program is at the table. There are multiple programs that are at the table that have to be there, and that it's just trying to find the right partner and to cut through all of the minutia to really get that relationship going. Okay. Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no worries.
Good afternoon. Good morning, everyone. I'm getting ahead of myself. So I do want to just, because somebody did bring up a training class and having difficulties, you know, getting people to show up, or even getting, when they do show up, completing the class. Something EDSI does do in regions that we do support and is available, if there is funding, is something called the multi-generational training cohort. It is a cohort where we bring in folks who are in a JFIS program or in a WIOA program for training, but we also provide support, childcare, after school help to their children during that time. So it's not only providing value to the job seeker, but also their family, and also bridging the gap of having the child see their parent complete a training, building that confidence. And we've also seen really great things of that child's school performance improving and test scores getting better. And when we have those, when we've done them in Connecticut, we have an average participation rate, attendance rate of 95%, and an average graduation rate of, in the high, I believe it's 87%. So we've seen really great success in that approach, because one, it's having the generational impact, and it's also having the immediate impact of folks actually being able to complete a training that leads to employment.
I have a question, and thank you, Sean and Ben, for being here and LeadingAge for putting it together. So I am in the Danbury area in Reading, Connecticut, and thank you for addressing the childcare issue. One of our biggest things is transportation, and
ours as well.
and looking at that and what, if any, resources or opportunities. We've tried to set up carpooling things. We have a train branch that runs only every 2 hours near us, but just wondering if you have any thoughts or how you kind of work out that challenge when you're in that area, but you're not right on a public transportation line.
So, sorry, Sean, you want to?
No, go for it.
Yeah. So we feel we've seen the same struggles as well. And what we've done for specific training programs is different things. Carpooling is effective sometimes, but we've also just seen the simplest thing of gift cards to Uber, and then Uber pooling using that, or just if it is in the budget, direct Uber, so that people can get there safely and on time is the biggest thing. Because, we all know public transportation, it's running on time. That's a special day of the week. So we've also seen that become effective, and we've seen when we really target in on these cohorts, we're able to provide supportive services along the ways. That way, because we all know people, we work in human services, and we all know things come up. What can we do to help coach these folks and provide supportive services along the way to help them get through the completion? Because once they have that certification, once they have that training, they're going to have employment. They're going to be able to start standing on their own 2 feet and be able to get that and get to work. So we just need to help them get through that initial training.
Great, thank you.
I had a question. I would be interested in having an internship program, but we can work with, it sounds like your agency develop some youth. You mentioned 18 to 24-year-olds.
Mhm.
If they could be introduced to our industry and, during the summer, kind of go through various departments in our organization. I guess the problem is funding for a program like that. Is there dollars available, or could we work with people in your programs to have them complete internships with us?
Yeah, so Valerie, there's definitely an opportunity to figure out exactly what the funding stream would be. And that's sort of what EDSI, I think, is really good at, is we figure out the funding streams, and we can do generally cost neutral activities, right? So it may be a little small up front, but at the same time, it actually becomes a benefit because you get the person, right? So there's maybe an in-kind contribution of like you're initially putting in something to make something happen, but then the next step is that you're clearing more so than you put in, for the fact that you get the extra person for free time and labor, and the benefit of lower reduced turnover, really being able to vet the person before they come in. Yeah, so we can definitely talk about specific projects. Absolutely.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
And just to speak to what Sean was speaking to, is just obviously I've been doing this for 12 years myself. EDSI has been doing this for 40 years. Sean's been doing it for a very long time as well. We've seen sometimes what the barrier is navigating this process, because you go region to region, board to board. All the money all comes from the same place, but once it gets to a region, they put their stamp on it and they have their own paperwork to help that you have to navigate. So what EDSI can help do is help organizations navigate this. And there is real savings and dollars available. Just your average on-the-job training, which can be a program, can save you anywhere from about $5,000 to $8,000 per employee you bring on in the Connecticut region. Every state has different caps on that, but it's all going to be towards that anywhere from about $3,000 to $10,000 in savings for bringing on an employee by accessing these funds and accessing this process.
So yeah, so part of what we wanted to do is just kind of hear too, are there concerns? Is there specific feedback for the workforce system that we're just you're just trying to get some information? We know it's large and it can be a little archaic, and there's a lot of acronyms and there's a lot of programs. And so just trying to find the right program. So I think what I can do is I can put my information into the chat so that everybody has it. You can feel free to reach out. And then, like I said, we're working on trying to find some solutions based upon the feedback that we're getting that can definitely help everybody. And so we can start talking about what those are as we continue to grow.
Sean, do you have
Oh, I'm sorry. Go
You
ahead.
go ahead,
Go ahead,
Bruce.
Rebecca, whoever.
Do you have a cheat sheet? You spouted off a whole list of
Yeah,
programs and things in the beginning. Do you have a one-page sort of information sheet, fact
Yep.
sheet that you could send to us so that we could,
sure.
help you digest that information? Because I hear all those acronyms and
It's acronym soup, it's
programs,
just-
and
Yes.
we are also running a CNA school and are dealing with some of these workforce programs
Yeah.
ourselves, and we're always looking for more partners and other partners to help supplement what we do have in place. So that would be really helpful to us. I think all of us on the call, because we're all struggling in
Absolutely.
this space for sure.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. We can get that over to you, and I'll make sure I get it over to Andrew so we can get
Andrea,
it,
would be
get it
great.
over to everybody. Absolutely.
I'm going
Thank you.
to question again, and CNAs, we talk about CNAs, but another big need for us is the hospitality type roles. And that's a job which, kind of just from experience, I would think would be a good place for some of the people that you support. I mean, you're in training in terms of maybe basic cooking, cleaning services, things like that. I don't know if that's true or not. But I would say one of the elephants in the room is sometimes, because of our regulations, I'm all for fair chance hiring, but there are certain things that we
Absolutely.
can't, we have to really look at closely.
Yes.
So is there any support or help with that? And what does that look like?
Yeah, so we definitely understand the industry, right? We know that the background check has very specific requirements, and there are certain backgrounds that are not allowed. And so we wouldn't bring you somebody that has that background. So we know that there's the PPDs. We understand that there's probably a drug test, even though we wouldn't tell the participant when that's happening to warn them. We would make sure that they understand that there is a background requirement, not that we necessarily care, but we would be very honest at the beginning of that case management of healthcare is really locked out if you have certain backgrounds. You have to understand that, and so there are other programs, and there's other industries that are more equalizing for that. So we definitely understand that, and we try to make sure that we are on top of the regulations and the fingerprinting requirements, and we would vet that person out of the process before handing them to you.
Thank you.
Yeah, no worries.
I know one of the issues that we have, and I'm sure everybody else probably runs into it also, is I don't want to say the quality of the candidate so much as their lack of knowledge in how to deal in the workplace. Does that make sense to everybody? Huge. Yeah. So, how to get along with others. Don't just snap at people. Come to work on time. Don't call out because you have a hangnail. Silly things like that affect us here to the point where, we have people that new people, we put them through the CNA class. If you're not going to show up for work, you're not doing us any good. So do you do any kind of, or will you look at doing any kind of education on really how to act and behave and deal with workplace issues and the workplace itself, and some of the rules they may not be used to. They may not be used to knowing that if you're on the 7 o'clock shift, we need you here at 7 o'clock, and there's 100 reasons why.
Yeah.
So really, go ahead.
Sorry. So that's a great point, and that's where we as EDSI have developed workshops that address specifically that. Two different versions. One for the adults who may be entering the workforce for the first time or re-entering the workforce for the first time in a long time, and also specifically geared towards youth. And we have those workshops that can be delivered in person and that can also be delivered virtually. Because youth occasionally like doing this stuff virtually, but we also can do that because it really is something you have to kind of address before you get into a CNA training class or a PCA training class. You kind of have to address that in the beginning. So you hope the person is sitting in that class and can be self-reflective enough and say, hey, maybe this isn't the point where I'm ready to do this. Let me speak to my case manager about other supportive services so I can get to that point. Or it's a preparation before they enter into the training class of like, I got to take this seriously. And then it's also a good point of like opportunity for us. Hey, here are the benefits of entering into the healthcare industry, a growing industry where I can have a career pathway. So it's
Mhm.
really important that we educate them about that before they enter into a CNA class or any type of healthcare training class. So they really understand this is an industry. Am I cut out to get into this industry? And then this is a great industry for me to enter. So there is definitely that training out there and available.
And I do know,
think they
especially
also
with,
have to-
go ahead, Rebecca.
That's okay. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, especially with the Connecticut college system expanding like they have. I mean, we now have people here that can go and get their associates in nursing at
Exactly.
Tunxus. And they don't have to go to Capitol and drive into Hartford
Right.
any longer.
Mhm.
They can just get it right at Capitol. So I think a lot of that knowledge might be great for the people who are looking to get back into not only something different or into healthcare, but just the knowledge that all of that is there.
And it's about the upskilling, right? So even just taking your current people who may start in a hospitality field, but you're looking for a 15 to 20-year growth with this person. Maybe it's a certification that leads to something. It's OSHA 10, and they start going into the operations side, or they go into the healthcare side, the direct care. And it's gradual stacking of credentials. And there are definitely programs that can help with that. And to the bigger point too about soft skills development, hosting soft skill workshops at the agency where you can introduce yourself to people, they can start to see the environment where it's maybe, hey, we're having a healthcare career day. Come in, and it's a little bit different than a job fair, but it's an opportunity to bring people from the community in, get someone recruiting those people in through the door. And then we're introducing, we're working with youth now in various states where we bring virtual reality to the table so that they don't have to physically live it. They can see the experience, right? They can work through maybe a difficult circumstance or work through a scenario without having to do direct care. So it solves the problem. It's like some areas to get the phlebotomy 1,000 sticks, they use sleeves and they get the qualified 1,000 sticks that way because that's a barrier for people. So same way, you can't really do direct care until you have the certification, but you need the experience to be comfortable in the certification. There's ways that we can make that work. Absolutely.
I think they have to have an understanding of how hard this job is. I think a lot of times they don't realize how hard and difficult it is to do patient care.
Absolutely. And but it's also understanding that direct care is more than just incontinence care, right? So it's changing the paradigm. If you really understand, like it's really providing empathy, and it's bringing people their dignity at a time where they really need it. And you're really there as that person's support. And so like it's really truly a valued experience. And so how can we help people understand that? Like there is, yes, there's hard parts, but it's fulfilling hard, right? There's good work you could do at the end of the day to hang your hat on. And so it's just educating the populace about it and having those exposure events where people can come in and really get to see it and bring people of a variety of ages. I used to work in the senior field in workforce development, and we brought seniors in who were CNAs to talk about it. It's backbreaking work sometimes, but it's also fulfilling, and it's a career you can have for the next 5 to 10 years as you get ready to retire. So, definitely something to consider there too. Yep.
And I know for, we're trying to focus on retention. So do you do any training or development for current employees? Like would there be workshops available?
Yep, we have a wide variety of workshops, both virtual and in person, that can be offered to help with additional soft skill development, to help with career growth. And we can definitely offer suggestions to you as well for different things that you can do internally and externally.
Okay, great. And is that all spelled out on your website?
So we can definitely have conversations as well. We definitely have everything listed in various media forms. But yeah, so once we know, I'm writing down everything as you folks are talking about it, so that I can definitely make sure we hit all the right notes of what it is we can offer.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Is there anything else that we can assist with or talk about, or any other pain points? And if not, that's okay. So I'll put my information into the chat. I will get Andrea some information. I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you today. Thank you so much. And we'll talk soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sean and Ben. Thanks a lot, Sean and Ben. Really appreciate it.
Thank you
Enjoy
very
your
much.
day, everybody. Enjoy this nice weather. Take care.
Bye.